It's 28 minutes to 1 p.m. We are live in Johannesburg. Now, a few years ago, more than 130 South African chief executive officers put their heads together and they said, we are going to work with the government. Luckily, the government of President Cyril Ramaphosa said, yes, we acknowledge there are problems here and we need to work together and we need to try and see if we can turn the economy around. Fast forward, here we are. We're talking about the potential for this partnership to create 2.5 million jobs by 2030. They also anticipate boosting South Africa's growth rate to between 3 to 5% as a result of this collaboration. We all know where South Africa's economy is at the moment. Yesterday, the IMF saying probably this year we're looking at no more than 0.9%. Annabel Bishop, Chief Economist, Investec, has written a note on this about the work that's been done and the progress that's been achieved. And on the other side, Cas Coovadia has been a key participant in that process. He's CEO, Business Unity, South Africa. Cas, let me start with you and ask just a direct question. Are you happy, and I'd like a direct answer as much as you can, please, with the collaboration that you have established between yourselves and the government? We've just lost Cas, just like that. We've just lost Cas. It sounds like we've got him back. Cas, I'm hoping you heard my question. If not, I can repeat it. Okay. Cas, you on mute. Let's try and see if we can get you back online.
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yes, great. Thanks. Great to have you back. Let me ask the question again. I was just asking whether you are happy, and I'm deliberately using that word, with the collaboration between yourself and this effort and the government.
Yes, I think we are happy. I mean, is progress as quickly as we would have liked? No, but I think that we've made good progress. And the trend is certainly a positive one. And, you know, our whole intention was to show that if both government and business take a partnership seriously and there's leadership from the top, we can make some progress. So yes, we are happy with it within the context of the situation we are in our country. I think that in all the time that I've been involved in working with government and trying to facilitate these things, I think this is probably the most progress we've made.
Absolutely. I was actually going to say this partnership, we can use word like groundbreaking. And I use that word very carefully because obviously as a journalist, you want to try and be very careful with the words that you use. But would you describe it as such?
Well, I think, you know, there have been partnerships between business and government before, and I think that this is to a certain extent just as important as the partnership we had during COVID, which I think was groundbreaking because that was the first sort of crisis situation that we partnered in a very good way. But this is in some ways groundbreaking in the sense that on critical issues for business and in the national interest, government under the leadership of the president and business under the leadership of a number of chief executive officers that are giving a lot of time to the work we're doing are actually partnering. And that in itself, I think is groundbreaking, that it's not just business organizations, but CEOs and the president that are seized with this and that are giving a lot of time to.
Did the idea of closer cooperation to the extent that you have able to build and the platforms that you have to build come from that COVID cooperation, or was that a separate development?
Well, we're using, from a business point of view, we're using the same business platform that we used under COVID. So during COVID, we established Business for South Africa, not as a separate business organization, but as a platform through which business can partner government on issues of national interest. And so we're using the same platform. COVID, I think, was, you know, a very specific set of circumstances. We all knew that if we don't work together, if we don't make progress, if we don't actually achieve things very quickly and move very quickly, people were going to die. I mean, as brutal as that. This partnership, obviously, we don't have that sort of a crisis situation, but we do have crises in energy, in logistics, and in law and order. And so that focuses the minds. And so we certainly using the same platform. I think that what's different between COVID and now is that the government side is actually led by the president.
Absolutely. I was going to write that story the same way and say we knew if we didn't cooperate in COVID, we knew people were going to die, but you also knew if you didn't cooperate with the government, the economy may have died. Right. I've used the word died together. Annabel, you have given this very deep thought, and you have comprehensively analyzed the work that's been done. I'm asking you again if you would use the word happy as well in terms of the collaboration, the progress that's been made, but also at the same time, if you could just give us a quick overview of the work that's been achieved.
Thanks, Godfrey. Look, I'm happy that it's happening. And I think we need to bear in mind that there's an enormous amount of work to do. So it is a long process. There has been enormous distractions in many areas, but as you said, let's recap and see what's actually happening. So essentially, the business-government collaboration is looking to resolve the electricity crisis, the freight truck crisis, and I'll unpack that just now, and also as well crime and corruption. So I did actually want to say that there are a couple of areas that they've actually set up some committees. We have the NEARCOM, National Energy Crisis Committee, led by Minister Ramaphosa, who seeks to reduce the severity and frequency of load shedding. And that actually now has seen success. So we're happy with that. When you compare the first quarter of this year to the first quarter of last year, there's been enormous success. And in fact, actually, we did a calculation to complete this quarter. We know that recently load shedding has been suspended, but for the majority of the quarter, there was some. Nevertheless, if we look at the stages, the number of stages of load shedding, and of course the intensity, the frequency, that's gone down substantially. So there's been success in that area. And of course, hopes are that this persists and continues. It's not just a pre-election ploy, although we obviously don't think it is. But nevertheless, obviously, we really need to see a resolution of load shedding to help boost the economy. The second one, obviously, is the National Logistics Crisis Committee, and they're targeting improved operations of the ports, border crossings as well, increased security measures overall, also on the railway system, and of course the roads. So all of these key areas, freight, logistics, and procurement, is also going to be overhauled as well. So that's a positive step to improve efficiency and contribute to the economy. You may ask me, what successes have we had so far? And we know, of course, that there has been, excuse me, reduction in congestion at the ports, severe reduction actually. So there has been great progress made there. Many other areas of progress as well. I'm really just doing a couple of highlights because of time, but of course we know we've had a change of leadership at Transnet and a number of positive things happening. The third focus area, crime and corruption. The joint initiative to fight crime and corruption focuses both on the removal of South Africa's grey listing and also to empower our MPA to develop an intelligence database and prosecute crimes effectively. So these are all good goals. We obviously are very happy that they are being worked on. Great traction being made, progress coming out, tangible progress, and we expect that this will continue over the course of this year. And in fact, Godfrey, over our 5-year economic forecast, we expect this to continue and traction to be made, which will lift economic growth from around 1% this year out to potentially above 2% and towards 3%. So obviously other factors will depend on what's happening with the global economy, other areas, but that certainly is our outlook at the moment.
Sure. Absolutely. And we must celebrate those, especially in South Africa's fractured political environment. But also at the same time recognize that these are complex issues that are being tackled here. And I'm glad to hear from your side that you envisage this will probably go on for another 5 years. Do we then get greedy and ask that we put more of some of the complex issues that the country is struggling with on the table, i.e. expand the cooperation that we've seen so far? Or are we now going the wrong route and getting business into political governance, which we don't want business to do because they'll lose focus on the commercial and the economic side, right?
Well, Godfrey, if you would say to me, what other one area would you add in? that fits with these other areas. Electricity, as you know, freight, the roads and rails particularly, and of course crime and corruption, where the private sector has really come to bear and made strong progress, as we've said. We could also look at water as well. We know there are water outages, there are water shortages. Water is an absolute crisis if you don't have it. And of course, it's necessary for the economy, but also, of course, as well for human survival. And we think if they do look to add another area, it might be that. But let's just bear in mind that specifically, only 3 areas were chosen in order to have really strong core focus and competency in those areas brought to bear, but also not to have too many areas distracting what needs to be done. So these are just some of the background. I think, the business and government collaboration is not seeking to get involved at all in political areas or in anything that is not actually factors of production for the economy. In other words, factors that need to be there so business can be successful, so business can function. We need to obviously have an environment that enables the economy, that enables business, so that we can employ more people, so that we can employ people at better wages, have a decent standard of living, and lift South Africa's economy and obviously the population alongside with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's great to hear the word national interest being mentioned in a non-partisan, non-political way, because if you ask the ANC what the national interest is or the DA what the national interest is, I swear to you, you'll get very different answers. I actually asked the question on some panel that I moderated some time, but we've run out of time. Cas, very quickly, if I can come back to you, the trust that you were able to build here and work with the government, how sustainable? Annabel is suggesting we could see another 5 years of this. We just have Cas now on the phone, unfortunately. But Cas, we can hear you very quickly if you can.
Yeah. So look, I mean, the partnership we have currently is a very focused partnership. We want to finish what we're doing by the end of this year or at the latest by the end of March next year and sign off on what we've set ourselves a target for. And that should increase GDP to 3.5% and create about 300 to 400,000 jobs. And then we can look at whether we need to do more. We don't want this to be an ongoing thing. We hope that we will build capacity in government in this process, and then government must do what government needs to do. So we will identify areas that we can work on together. We don't think that it should be, ad infinitum. It's targeted interventions, build government capacity, and then government must carry on and do what it needs to do.
Absolutely. No question about that. Cas, thanks very much for your time today. And I would add as well that maybe it ought to be built in such a way that even if there was a change of government come the elections on May 29, these structures are kept. Thank you, sir. Annabel, thank you as well for your time and for your note. I'm looking forward to Bishop is Chief Economist at Investec. Thank you. Let's move on now.